All right, and we're now, it's 16 minutes to 8 o'clock, and we're going to be getting into your health shortly. But also, this could be a matter of health, but it's more to do with empowerment of persons living with disability. And I'm joined in studio to have that conversation by two ladies. I have Princess Lina Mbeyu, who is a journalist and also a radio presenter. Good morning, and thank you for joining us. We also have Jane Mwangi, who's the managing director for KCB Foundation. And thank you, Jane, also for joining us. Let me start with you, Princess, and possibly give us just a brief of your story. I know we watched your story not too long ago of how you get about, but just maybe for the benefit of somebody who may not have watched it, a very compressed version of it, of your story of how you got where you are. Well,
I'm really humble. Life has not been easy, but I can testify God is faithful. Born with disability, in a family of 7, second born, and I thank God I'm the head in that family to some extent, because I'm the only person who am very much learned. I've done a degree in mass communication. I've struggled like anybody, like any youth who could struggle in this society. Despite the challenges, I can say with confidence, it's about positivity. What would you say is the thing that gave you that ability to be where you are today? Because we have many people living with disability who possibly they're intelligent enough, they maybe have had the environment and the opportunity, but they didn't take advantage of it. But what is it that made the difference and set you apart? The fact is there's love in a family, there's support in a family, and then there's trust. The three keys have enabled me to be where I am today. Anything I need from my family, I'll get it, even now, as much as I'm working. And I got great mentors who supported me spiritually, mentally, socially, name them. And I can say, if you get the right people to motivate you, to bring you like anybody in the society, then definitely will be a great person. Okay. Jane, I'll come to you. You're the MD for KCB Foundation, and I know KCB has made it their business to deliberately ensure that they support people, persons living with disability. What are some of the initiatives that KCB is taking up?
Thank you so much for having me here this morning. And it's a great pleasure also meeting a princess and listening to her story. Now, when you think about what it is we do as corporates, we are definitely in the business of, as KCB in the business of banking, but KCB Foundation in the business of working with the communities that we serve and really investing in the communities. And what it is we have done is, in the space of disability, is to integrate disability into the programs that we are taking or we are undertaking, really mainstreaming it. Some of the programs that we undertake is a program like Tujiajiri. Tujiajiri is the program where we are focusing on empowering young people, and not just empowering them by just giving them resources, but before giving them or giving them access to finance, what it is we do is to first and foremost give them a skill. We give them a skill, we give them scholarships to go to vocational schools to acquire skill. Then after they have acquired a skill, we help them establish a business along the skill they acquired. If we train them as hairdressers, we help them start a salon. But right there, we handhold them, we incubate that business for a period of not less than 12 months. And we give them all that they need. And by all they need, is where we really focus on giving them startup capital, working capital. Then you give them financial literacy, you give them entrepreneurial skills, then you give them tools of trade. Now, we have been looking at 6 different areas in that space. We look at beauty, we look at catering, areas like catering in the domestic pillar. We look at agriculture, we look at construction, we look at automotive, where we are working with the mechanics. We look at construction, we also look at IT. And we look to give 10,000 scholarships every year. So far, we've given about 22,000 scholarships since we started.
And that is great, from the private sector. Do you feel that the public sector, have you interacted with the public sector enough to know as to whether they are also adding value to what you're doing and how you can partner together?
Now, yes, of course, public sector. I mean, we are dealing with the institutions. But right there, the real main point I wanted to talk about is for on the 10,000 that we give every year, we make it intentional to do 10% of that to go to the persons living with disability. And that's how we mainstream. So if I'm doing 10,000, I will look intentionally for 1,000 persons living with disability
to ensure that goes towards that.
To give them the scholarship to go to vocational school and to help them start a skill. Now, what are the challenges we have faced and how far have we gone on that? Now, and that is where the public sector comes in. When you go to vocational institutions, not many of them have the capacity to take in or even have the facilities to take in the persons living with disability. The biggest challenge we have encountered is even drawing them out. When we go out with public announcements, calling in persons living with disability, them showing up for the interview or coming up to take up the opportunity has been a problem. All the same, what it is we said is let's start from where we are and what it is we have, because systems will evolve and systems will kind of fix themselves. The public sector itself in the institutions, because most of those institutions are public institutions, will begin addressing the challenges. And we are glad to say that in Tujajiri we have about 100 scholarships. We just have 100 people who have shown up. And we'll soon be starting a class in September of persons living with disability. In the high school program, because we also have a high school program, we have about 120 persons living with disability that are already incorporated into the high school program. But we have also partnered with people like M-Pesa Foundation Academy, the one in Thika, where every year we are giving them 47 slots. We are paying 47 scholarships for persons living with disability. Because, the institution is well endowed with facilities.
Okay. Let me come to you, Princess. What would you say has been your biggest asset to be where you are today? And when I say where you are today, I mean you're working like everybody else, pursuing a career of your dreams. But there are many who would find that a challenge just by virtue of the fact that they are physically disabled to get there. What has been your biggest asset that has got you there?
Let me react as I answer with your question according to what she said. The reason why many of us, we don't come out when they call for these opportunities is because majority of us have been hid. And the problem is, if we don't get the right people to guide us, definitely you'll find us on the streets. Number one, what you have just asked, it is true. I was about to be a street person, but I thank God I met somebody on the street who held my hand and take me to school. Because the family itself to take care of you, it's a big challenge. Number one, there's a negative attitude towards people with disability in the family. Number two, lack of acceptance can make you go to the streets. And number three, if you don't know God, you've never met this person called God, believe you me, you'll still end up in the streets. Why am I saying this? My parents are Muslims. Today I don't use the name Mohammed. And in a family of Muslim and then being a Christian at the same time, all of a sudden, these parents or the relatives will come and advise these parents, you know what? I don't think if this child can go far. And if the parents can take that advice, believe you me, that's why today there are so many in the streets, not because they don't love them, not because they lack money, but because of the embrace of family. If the family cannot embrace these people in their own houses, then who else will embrace them in the society? Who else?
Now, what message would you like to send to the people out there? Because majority of the people out there think that people living with disability are just to be sympathized with. But that's not what you're looking for. You're looking for empowerment. What message would you have to people out there who would like to help but don't know how to?
Well, I think it's high time we do away with sympathy as Kenyans, because I believe all of us, we are gifted in various ways. If you don't give me an opportunity, you'll not know if I'm gifted in one way or another. So coming on the street, walking on the street, then you meet this person on the street, you just feel like giving 10 bob, 20 bob, that is not worthy of that person. The best thing you can do, talk to that person. Knows why is he first in that street? Where does he come from? And according to the research, we have realized that majority are not even Kenyans. Now, the government, we have a role to play. What do we do with these people who are not Kenyans? Because if today I'm looking very smart, walking on these streets of Nairobi, someone has the guts to still give me the 10 bob in my hand. Can't you differentiate this person who is smart and this person who has a teen begging? Can we not differentiate Kenyans?
So in short, what you're saying is that there are some who will even want to give you the handout not because you're begging.
Yeah, not because, they just feel like, she deserves the 10 bob, she deserves the 50 bob, she deserves...
And that's a sympathy that
you're talking about. That is sympathy. And that is why people are so lazy on the streets. It's high time the government to do something. If they're not Kenyans, let these people be getting back to their countries. Deal with their leaders that side. How to deal with their own parents, the other side. If they are Kenyans, let's deal with their parents. Talk to these people. These are children. They are human beings, like anybody. And they deserve that love like any child in the family. Yeah, and that's where we fail as a government.
Jane, you recently attended the London Global Disability Conference. What are some of the things that we possibly can learn from other jurisdictions on how they're dealing with persons with disability and empowering them? Because like she says, it's not sympathy they're looking for. They're looking for an equal playing ground.
Exactly.
Yeah. I think one of the things that we observed when we were there is the dignity with which, the Western world, treats their persons living with disability. They treat them with dignity. And it's not just about word, but you'll see that along the streets, they have, they have incorporated everything that is needed to facilitate the person living with disability to live a comfortable life. If you go to buildings, you see that they have the facility of having a ramp or a lift.
Just access.
Yeah, just access. Just access. And oftentimes we say that if you want to know how civilized people are, just check how they treat the persons living with disability.
Exactly.
When people are civilized, they treat them with dignity. When people are exposed and people are knowledgeable, they incorporate them, they mainstream them into their lives. And so right there, we started seeing that it's beyond the talk, and there was the discussion of us making a pledge, pledging to be, to support people living with disability. And for us as a bank, we say one of the things that we are doing is connect the dots, because we realize that as KCB, we are also the ones who are visiting the persons living with disability to give them the cash transfer that is coming from government under the Inua Jamii program. And so basically is where we are saying, as we go to these homes and we meet these people, the ones that we see we can help, take to the next level, they're the ones we pick even in the foundation, in the sense that we come and we say, hey, she's gifted in her own way. Let's invest in her. Because if we invest in her and we help her create her own wealth, then we don't even need to give a cash transfer anymore. And right there, I think that's the dignity she's talking about. It's going beyond the sympathy. Sympathy is good, but sympathy can also be lazy. It's when I don't want to go the second mile, I'll drop at the 50 bob. But if I want to go the second mile and intentionally help her move to the next level, I'll be so intentional, even in selecting her. I will spend time. I will go the second mile in hand-holding her, cognizant of the fact that she will not need just the 5 minutes any other person needs. She will probably need 50 minutes. But if I invest that 50 minutes in walking the journey with her, what I will do is give her a sustainable solution. And that's why for us as KCB Foundation, we have made it intentional. Mainstream persons living with disability into our programs is an intentional way of dealing with the challenge. First and foremost, I don't treat her differently. I don't say I'll design a different program for her because she's challenged. But what I do is to incorporate her and integrate her into the programs that we have, because then I give her a sustainable solution.
And in the private sector still,
Yep.
as you come up with programs and as you come up with empowering programs that would now help people living with disability, what about job creation? Because one of the ways of ensuring that they feel that they are, you know, on a level playing field is ensuring that there are also opportunities for them to work. Because we must agree and admit that where we are coming from, there is a culture and a thinking that a person living with disability would probably not be able to perform as well as somebody who is able. Yet that is not true.
Yeah, absolutely, and that is, very much correct. You have very many who are physically challenged, but can do very many things. They can work in a normal office, and so I must admit that that is one of the things we're also looking at, as a bank and as a foundation as well. How do we then that if every year we are going to employ so many number of employees, this percentage, we shall dedicate it to the persons living with the challenges. But also, as you look at the way we are doing it in a very systemic way, through the Tujiajiri program, as we are skilling them, it's within the 6 months I will be with them, skilling them, that I will realize this is an entrepreneur. I will guide them into entrepreneurship. This is a good, candidate for a job. I will now guide them towards a job. And I will intentionally link them up. Because we need to go the second mile for them. And so is where we are saying, so we see this one is very talented in, in journalism. Let me link her up. Because I have the ability to do that. Unlike herself, she may not have the ability because she may not even have, access to the, the networks that we have. But we do have all those access. And so it's going the second mile and doing it intentionally after skilling them first.
All right, Princess, one of the things that we have within our constitution right now is what we'd call inclusivity, and the government, through the constitution, is forced to include and have a place even in parliament for persons living with disability, for representation. Do you feel represented?
Personally, and to be honest, no. Why? Our space are being taken by other people. Even in the media houses, we don't have spaces. I should be someone else, not in KBC at all. But because as much as I apply in other media houses, my CV doesn't talk about I'm a person with disability. It doesn't. I apply like anybody. And because it's time for knowing each other, I don't know anybody in KTN. I don't know anybody in Nation Media. I don't know anybody in Citizen. So when it comes to the selective, yes, I might be qualified there. But because you don't know this person, you bring another person who you know. And that's where the problem is, but corruption. So when it comes to the disability issue, unless it clicks my mind, I need to take a walk to KTN, maybe to see the radio head of Radio Maisha. I want to talk to him in person. And when you reach at the gate, you don't get that opportunity. And even when you book the appointment, you never get that opportunity again, on the other hand. And it's too sad. So when it comes to the employment, for people with disability, I think it's high time you need to meet them in person so that they can explain, this is what exactly I can do, and this is what I cannot do.
Okay, so you say you don't feel represented. What is it that you'd want the members of parliament specifically who are there to represent persons living with a disability, what is it that you'd want them to do? What is it that what message would you have for them?
What I think they should do, number one, they should address the real issues in this country. There are so many people who don't get the funds of people with disability. Number one, why? Number two, why do they select if today someone comes all the way from, let's say, Meru, coming to register him or a child to the National Council? They don't get these services. I've been having cases with parents. Princess, can you help me how to get these funds? Then when you explain to these people, I cannot get these funds because even me personally, I've never got these funds. I've been applying each and every year when I was in school. I never got opportunity until my university director get into the issue. I got it once. So there's a very big problem. When someone gets in that seat, he goes, he relaxes, he forgets the rest outside there. Another thing maybe they should do, the funds that are given out is for us, not for you. Let them be given to the equal people. If I have come, I have applied, I've followed all the procedure, Let these people get the funds.
You deserve it.
Yeah, you deserve it.
All right, Jane Mwangi will have to wind up. Your closing comments.
My closing comment, I'll be saying that let's not wish them. Let's not hide the child.
Yeah.
Let's hold the bull by the horns. Let us show strength and courage in solving the problem. That we have a problem of persons living with disability. They're there. They're part of us. They are our children. They are our brothers, our sisters, our parents. You know, and really even today you could be okay, but tomorrow you're the one with a challenge because you either get into an accident that physically disables you. You're looking at lifestyle diseases like diabetes that is leading to a lot of blindness. And right there, you know, that becomes a challenge. Let's not be afraid of solving problems. Let's solve the problem. Let's bring it to the table and say, this is the problem. We shall not throw away a child to the bush like our forefathers did because they had the inability to face the challenge. But at this day and age, let's bring it to the table. Let's say it's a challenge. How do we solve it? Because the moment we start addressing it, now we bring the forces of private-public partnerships.
We'll have to wind it up right there. Thank you very much, Jane Mwangi, Managing Director for KCB Foundation, and also Princess Lina Mbeyu, who's a journalist and a presenter. Thank you for joining us this morning and having that conversation. It is now 6 minutes after 8, and well, I'm going to hand over to Zinzi Kibiku, who is going to give us some of the stories making headlines internationally.
Thank you so much, Michael. Truly, Princess is very inspiring.